common person do for exercise? Well, do that if you want to die early. What's the common person do for food? They call it the standard American diet, SAD. If you do that, you're going to have these 4 or 5 diseases. What's the common person do in their leisure? Well, if you do that, check the median savings income in America. What does a person do as far as frugality? Oh, they don't do frugality. They just buy what they want, like little kids in the grocery store who are grabbing things. Oh, let's see where that goes. What kind of future is there? You don't educate yourself in your free time. You don't do what's common. Common is the worst thing in the world. If I see common, I run the opposite way.
This is the Basu Lifestyle Show. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel.
So today I'm joined by John Soforic. John Soforic is the author of The Wealthy Gardener. Once you pick this book up, it's going to be a book that you wish you read earlier because all of the lessons in here are something that you can implement and are going to help you upgrade your life. So it hits all 3 of the pillars of the Basu lifestyle, which is building yourself mentally, physically, and financially better. So John, welcome to the show. I appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me. I love the idea of the Basu lifestyle. That's a cool acronym.
I appreciate it. It's kind of like our passion project. Me and my wife, we kind of wanted to come up with our own brand and kind of do something for us to live by as we build our family.
Exactly.
And it's something that we could kind of live by, wear the gear, and kind of enjoy. And now I have to maintain that standard because I can't go down. If I go down, then it's like I don't represent the brand anymore.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, how big is the family?
So we have our first baby, and she is 2 months old. And
Good.
she's like one of yours, which is very colicky. So we don't sleep well. I think you said 1 and 2 is colicky, right?
Yeah, both of them. Absolutely.
Okay.
We learned how to live without sleep. So yeah,
That's
you're in
where
the
we're at.
thick of it.
So,
Yeah, day
but
by
we're gonna
day.
get through it. It's all good. I mean, it's great in general, but definitely the night times are rough. We don't look forward to nighttime.
But it's the exact philosophy of the one day at a time mentality. I swear, when we got a shower at that stage of our life, it was a good day. We made it to the end of the day, and then the screaming would start at night. And so, but it really increases the more stress you have in your life, the more you get back to the one day at a time. Win this one day, and you don't look at anything else, right? At the
No,
stage you're
no,
in.
no, no. That's exactly, especially because my wife will come to me and be like, "Well, we have to do this," and I don't know. I'm like, "Let's just slow down. Let's just
Yeah,
get through tonight." It's not even one day. It's like let's just get through tonight because six
let's
to ten is like insane.
and there's parallels to that to the bigger achievements you'll get into in your life when there's a lot of things you can focus on, and really it comes down to one day at a time. So there really is use value to that process you're going through, as painful as it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we kind of have to earn the good times. We have to get through the bad times to get to the good times. So we're kind of like, all right, we take the good little smile we get and the good win when she sleeps for more than 3 hours, and we kind of just roll from there.
Amen. Amen. Because you can
So
very easily miss it all, right?
exactly, exactly. That's the biggest thing, being a part of it. So for those people who haven't read the book, why did you kind of write it before we get into some of the lessons that we can learn from it?
Well, let's take it up compared to where you are. Let's assume that baby of yours is now 20 years old. And she, did you say? She or
She,
he?
yes.
So she is now approaching the world as coming out of college. You kind of have an idea of what's going to be sitting in front of her in terms of the story that she's going to, the challenges that she's going to go into. You know that story because by then you're a certain age, you've been through a lot of struggles, and wouldn't it be a shame that if you don't pass those what you know along to your children, at least try to prepare them. I always felt like that was kind of a moral duty for me to try to help my kids know what's coming. Not no big glamour show, but help prepare them. And so the best way I could do that was I reached a lot of my goals by the time I was 50. My son was then at the age of 20. He's about ready to leave college and embark on the same exact journey that I just finished. So let's try to prepare him. That's why I wrote the book.
Okay. So these lessons, can you explain I guess a summary of kind of the point of the book so then I can dig into a couple of lessons that really hit me and why I feel like, especially I was trying to figure out when I think people should read it. And I think you're right. It's somewhere around 18 to 20 when you're just embarking on your life. That'd be the perfect time to read it because
Mm.
I'm already implementing some of these things. And I'm like, if I implemented them at 20, I'd be in a different spot than I am now because I didn't implement them until really almost 30.
Yeah. Well, that's called normal, right? That's I have 60-year-olds that say, "Well, I wish I knew this earlier." Not to. I appreciate the flattery of that comment. At the same time, it's a little bittersweet to me because there's so much of this book was written about the ability to move your life forward every 5 years. There's something in there that seems to resonate with a lot of people called a 5-year crusade. And I don't care if you're 60 like me or if you're 20 like somebody else. Those next 5 years are coming. What are you going to say? Look backwards and say, "Well, I wish I had it at 25." And what about the 60 to 65? Can we make that adventurous? I would say that this book to me is a lot about the duty that we have to explore and use our full potential. I felt a calling to that duty myself. When a lot of people thought I was a workaholic, I thought I was a purposeaholic. I just tried to. I had a calling for my life. Everybody can do what they want. I don't judge anybody else or care. But for me, my job was to use the days, to use the hours, to use my time, to use the resources that God gave me, and to apply that. So that doesn't just happen. There's a lot of wishy-washy things, but you can really track what you do to get what you want. And there's this extreme accountability to this book. And I wanted my son to understand that life will treat you harsh if you're soft, and it'll treat you kind if you're harsh.
Yeah,
It's,
nowadays that's very important because people are getting softer and softer. Hard work is like a dirty word.
and the mistake of this is that they don't want to have a hard life, and so if you don't want to have a hard life and therefore you choose soft days, you're going to get such a hard life. It comes back opposite. The boomerang comes back hard, and you'll find it's a really cruel world if you want a soft life. And so let's just get to the straight right from the front end. On my son's side, I just wanted him to understand that the journey can be really it can be really fruitful, can be adventurous, can be there can be moments of purpose and joy and striving and feeling your best self, your full potential, doing your best work. That's not a bad thing. That's and facing stress, growing through stress. That's all good stuff. That's what's required. But it doesn't just happen. You got to turn off the TV. You gotta put your head into something that actually matters. Those are the kind of things that really matter to me. Now I try to convey it instead of a preachy. This might sound preachy. I couldn't speak to my son that way, so I made up a story about a wealthy gardener and a whole ecosystem where you try to drive those points home in a way that was a little more emotional and a little bit more, could hit their soul a little more, hit his soul a little more than me just preaching to him. He wouldn't go for that.
Well, you kind of almost did both in a way because the wealthy gardener was basically like this grandfather figure, so to speak. Like to me, when I was reading it, to me, he would
Sure.
be like the grandfather talking to you, and you like enjoyed his stories, and he just had like this way of connecting with you. And then you had you talking about your struggles, and I'm in that phase of my life where I'm going through some of those struggles, where I'm working harder than other people, where other people are wondering why you're doing things. Even I'm wondering, why am I doing this, this, and this? And just hearing you go through it, or even I believe it was a lawyer who was writing a book. I think in one of the chapters you talked about a lawyer writing a book and how his first book failed, and then he wrote another book, and then he became like a bestseller. And just like hearing those struggles really helps you when you're in, when you're digging that trench, to keep digging the trench.
100%, Steve. And I think the biggest challenge is to keep digging that trench when it doesn't feel like that trench is getting any longer. It's you really have to sometimes close your eyes to the sights around you and just focus on that inner vision so much. You have to see the inner vision, not what's around you, because what's around you, there's a lag to what you're doing. What's around you is based on what you've done, right? But you always want to get somewhere else. You always have this vision, and man, the most demoralizing thing is to be working hard, 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 and just not feeling like you're getting anywhere. But you never get anywhere if you give up when you get there, right? So it is definitely a trust of digging that ditch, digging that, if you want to call it that. And I like the analogy. It's all right with me. While
Yeah, and
that
just
ditch doesn't
believing it.
feel like it's going any further. Yeah.
Yeah, and just believing that you're going to get there. Like you said, you have to have, like, a lot of people talk about vision boards. You have to have a vision. You have to believe it. You use the sauna with visions. Like, all successful people really say it in different ways, but they're saying the same thing. But it's hard, I guess, in the moment to believe until those things start coming true, that you can visualize and that you are going to achieve it, because you just feel like it's like, okay, they're just saying this stuff. They're just saying these things. I'm not really going to do it. They don't really do it.
Like, that's, in my opinion, what separates the those who ultimately win from those who don't. Those who can hold that vision and believe, no matter what, because the no matter what's going to hit you on the head a lot. So yeah, who can hold the vision? That's not an easy task, and not a lot of people do it. We tend to stem down. We tend to lower our expectations to meet our level of work, our ethic, what will actually work for. We'll lower our standards based on that. There's a saying: it's a rare person who can endure the work to get to his goal. Right? That's the challenge of it all. Who can hold on to that feeling when you're down in the fourth quarter, you're down by 20 points, and you still think you're going to win? That comes out to life a lot. Uh, but
Yeah.
the champions do that.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're in it, it's definitely not easy. But when you get even like the small wins, once you get a small win, you feel like, okay, I can keep going. But it's a matter of keeping going. I feel like a lot of times through the small wins and realizing that people are going to say whatever, like you've said, and you just got to keep hammering at it day after day and just keep on the goal.
What's your alternative, Steve? Think about it. I mean, that's sometimes what I had in my moments when you're sitting there and you're beat up and you're tired and you're it's you're being tested, and it's okay to feel that way. That's called normal. Sometimes you have to go to bed and wake up the next day, but sometimes what you have to do is sit down and say, well, what's the alternative? How else would I be using my time?
I like
Okay,
that. I also think about it in the terms of like, at 80, am I going to regret doing this or not doing this?
it's a big question. Yeah, it's a profound question. So your alternative is going to be, okay, you sit down and use your evenings for TV. That's fine. It's fine. I'm not judging it. That is an alternative. You can go out with your buddies, have a lot of good beers. That's fine. You can, yes, there are sacrifices to getting ahead and getting achievement. You have to do more than a normal job. Normal jobs give you normal outcomes. A lot of times you have to take risks that other people aren't willing to take, walk through discomforts other people aren't willing. You can live a more comfortable life. That's fine. I don't care if you do, right? But some of us aren't made to be caged. You just have to be able to. Some of us just. I would have died living in the cage that a lot of people said was just fine and normal. Why is that? Who cares? I don't know. That's part of me. But I had to be free. And so I can tell you this, that when you get out of the financial freedom, when you reach that point, it is better. People say money won't buy happiness. Yeah, okay. It's better. Trust me. It's a lot better to have money than not have money. You're right. It won't fill all the holes in your life. But who said it would? You're just trying to get out of the slavery of money. So
What age did you hit financial freedom at?
define financial freedom. It changes, right? So there's a number where you can survive, and your bills will be paid from the passive income. I was in my game. I was building real estate. So what I always said, I'm building a river. I want a river. Some people build a lake, meaning they put all their money in a big place and they pile it up and it expands. It becomes a lake, a pool of money, a pool of water. I built a river, and so for me, I always thought. At first, I thought the river might be like $3,000. Well, if you get to that level, then all of a sudden you say, well, that's not it. And then you move it up and move it up. And it's okay to go incremental. I think that my level I was probably safe when I was bringing in 70,000. I mean, that means 90,000 before taxes. So 90,000 was safe. But then what's safe? Is there a margin of safety to that? No. So now you bring it up. I came to believe that 135 for a family of four where I live, my economics, the kind of lifestyle that I'm satisfied with, I don't need a lot. I like simplicity. 135,000 passive income was my number, and I'm sure I hit that somewhere in my early 40s. But then I got there, and I was like, well, is that really safe? Because if you make less than that, So then I took it up a few notches to give myself a good margin of safety. So I ended up at the end of the 40s. You got to talk about money. We don't really talk about money in our neighborhoods, in our area. But on a podcast like this, you have to share. It's in the book. I did build that residual income up to 20,000 a month, and that's certainly more than enough.
Yeah. I mean, you could always make more, like you said, but 20,000 a month, you're living pretty well. And that's in addition, because what people aren't going to know if they haven't read the book is that's in addition. You went to school to be a chiropractor. You become a chiropractor. Other people are like, he's a doctor. He just makes a lot of money. He doesn't have to do anything else. Is that how it went?
Oh, exactly. It was really easy. It was just you save your money, and it happened so simply. No, it was really a trying time because of at the time I went into chiropractic. That's when the managed care starts, and people understand what I'm talking about when they pay doctor bills. Now they have to come up with a lot of money out of pocket every time they do something. Chiropractic was getting, I would say after 20 years, I was earning less per visit than I was when I came right out of school. So, cost of living is going up, doubled a few times during that time. But then it's like my own income was going down because of the cost of the insurance reimbursement. So I had to either work a lot more hours inside the walls of my clinic. That was an option. You talk about strategy. And most chiropractors did that. Most chiropractors thought I was nuts by getting out there in the real estate business because I'm a chiropractor. I dress nice. People are nice to you in that business. Get out in the real estate business. Okay, now I have tenants. Now I have workers. Now I have all the demands of a flipping and renting business. And the chiropractors were looking down their nose at me a little because it wasn't such a high level, in their opinion, business. But I went outside the walls of my business to make more money because I felt that the chiropractic income was getting worse and worse and worse, just like it did for a lot of doctors. I mean, I thank God I had the insight to see that because it's really bad now. And, I have great MD friends who are trapped. If you don't get out in time, you get really, really trapped. And they are. And thank God I am not. So I just had a means to an end, and it became chiropractic. I would do chiropractic, then I would do rentals, then I would do flipping. And it turned into my own little snowball that was untouchable.
Yeah, it's how am I going to try and explain this? Like you said, you could have worked more hours, and like that's what most people do. They're going to pick up the overtime. They're going to work the extra shifts. Like with my job, that's a lot of times what you do, and that's what you need to do in the beginning. But you also need to be figuring out a way to build something else because that could come to an end. And that's something that I'm working on building. I've gotten into real estate over the course of since 2015, and I'm doing it very, very slowly.
Sure.
But it was, all right, I need to build something outside of this because any job can end. You can be controlled by who knows what situation. And I need to be prepared in building something outside of here. And a lot of people kind of just get narrow focused on one job, one career, then just going through the motions of living in life, which is fine. But like for me, it just hasn't been enough of what I wanted.
You know what? There's a difference to it. You'll feel it too whenever you start putting your money over to that. If you're so used to earning your own paycheck, but it's your dollars for hours. I mean, your hours for dollars. And the first time you get a check from somebody else's hours, I still remember it. I remember my first check from my first rental. And I'm like, I can't believe somebody just gave me $700 and I didn't lift a finger, quote unquote, during that month for it. And the next month, it happened again. And I'm telling you, it just opened my eyes. It's a different kind of income because you're not out there doing it to get it, And now with the number of people that I have in my business, I probably have 200 people out there. If you look at, consider what's really happening in a rental business. It's a cash flow business. The cash flow is flowing now toward me, but I have couples out there renting houses, nice places, but they're out there working a lot, and they send me a little bit of a trickle. There's these little trickles that come in to form a bigger river, and they're working for me. Like they don't know it, they don't think it. They're working for rent, but that's what they're doing. It becomes that. And all of a sudden, your time is freed up. That's a different game. that really was an eye opener for me, a paradigm shift for me, and I got a little bit addicted to that. Some people hoard shoes in closets. I started hoarding duplexes along streets. I can't sell them. I like to buy them, and I had a bit of a compulsion. So yeah.
Are you still buying, or have you slowed down?
I just acquired a 36 unit, but I hope to not do any more. I grew it a little bigger so that I could have some full timers to give myself even more distance. So I would say no, but I'm not buying more. But the asterisk beside that one would be I picked up a 36 unit.
If the right deal comes up, you'll still buy.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Because I know how to do this, and I have the teams intact, so I could double it, Steve, and it really wouldn't affect me that much. And that's what you'll see a lot of times the real estate people will do. There's just no end in sight, but it does complicate your life a little. And so I want to stop. I think there's a discipline of desire at the end that if you're disciplined with it, you will not then become the next rental addict. You can be that way. That could be your next addiction, where you just say, this just compels you, and takes you, and uses you. It's like, well, who can say no? Who can stop? Do you have other things in your life? It's okay to get big, but do you have other things? I had other things. I couldn't have written a book if I was doing all those jobs. I couldn't have done other things that I have planned in my life that are meaningful.
Yeah, it was time to move your focus, basically.
It was for me. That's just me. But yeah, it's just make your choices, make your goals, and then you work backwards. So for me, I don't want it anymore. People try to come to me now. Like, no, I don't want it anymore. I don't. Okay, what's the price? How that goes.
Yeah, you're like, well, what's the cash flow? I could take that.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people, though, I don't know how much are you in social media at all, or not really? Do you spend any time on there?
I really have a hard time spending time there.
Because like 2019, 2020, everybody became like, anybody you talk to wanted to buy real estate, was talking properties. I'm going to do this. And like, it was good because obviously more people were interested, but they just thought they were going to buy a property and you were going to cash flow and everything was going to appreciate and you were going to be able to retire off 3 properties. And I just feel like we're headed in a weird direction where that happened the last few years. And then I think people are going to get over it and might have to sell them, or something's going to come of that. What do you think?
I think that was definitely happening at the tail end of when I was coming down the home stretch as well. These shows on TV come on, and it looks like happy fun and lots of money to make. And so it seemed like it was killing the deals, because you always have a newbie out there who's like, it's their first time, they're all jazzed up, and they have this enthusiasm, like they're buying a house, like their own home. And it's like, well, so they're overpaying. Like, well, shit, that was a good one. I could have got that one, but I lost to Mary down the street because Mary watched a TV show and she overpaid. Then that happens over and over. It only takes one to overpay every time. And I was losing because I know what I can't spend. I can't spend more than this, the X dollars, because you have to put into it and all that kind of. It made it harder, without a doubt. It made it way harder whenever the popularity came in and the TV glamorized the whole process. I guarantee you, most people are going to sell all the rentals. Yeah. I guarantee you that most of my best deals came on burned out landlords. Absolutely.
Yeah, because if you're holding it and you're making $50-$100 and then something breaks and you didn't plan for that, you don't make any money. Like, and realistically, like you said, with that 700 cash flow, was it even 700 each month? You know what I'm saying?
No.
But people think it's.
Oh yeah. No, you have, half of that's going to go to your expenses. And then you'll have half of that just to spend for your mortgage. And so now it starts whittling down. You'll pay taxes on the profit after that. So no, forget about 50% right off the bat. It's done. It'll go into, if you're smart, you're having a CapEx fund that's preparing for those big things like roofs. And so 50% of your income is done, even before the mortgage. So no, you will find frustrated, burned out, disembodied people that are just like losing their mind, losing their marriages over their rentals, and they just want to fire sell. I know investors who will call duplexes that are for rent. Hey, would you mind selling that thing? You're just looking for a frustrated landlord. So I know that's a tactic.
Yeah, and I think The way I see it, which obviously, you can never forecast the future. It just feels like the last few years that's exactly what was going on. And I just feel like a lot of people were trying, instead of doing like your route, which was I'm going to slowly build this up and then I'm going to retire eventually and live off the money. They think they're just going to get a couple properties in 1 year and they can quit their job. And that's it.
Well, okay, so that's my response. I'm just going to laugh. Okay.
Tell them that your response is go read The Wealthy Gardener.
You know what? It's just it. Oh, this is going to be heartbreak if that's your expectation. It's I appreciate the entrepreneurial spirit. I love that in people, but have an expectation that all things good are going to be hard, and you'll be more prepared for and you'll enjoy it more if you approach it that way. That's my opinion.
Yeah. So we'll dig back to the book, but anytime I can talk real estate, I kind of
Yeah.
love digging into feeling your mind on it.
Hey, I'm on your show, brother. You tell me where we're going. I follow.
So let's hit a couple of the lessons that kind of really hit me. So while I was reading, I always try and underline and circle pages and kind of pick on things that really like resonate. And so the first lesson I would say was mindfulness, which is a keen awareness of the here and now. We are happier when we are busy and focused on getting something we want out of our days.
Absolutely, Steve. Let's look at me. Like, okay, go to your what's next when it's all over. Here I am at my age, approaching 60. I don't have to stay in the days the way a young person would. But I tell you what, if you're not present, if you lose that present time consciousness, you'll lose a lot of your purpose still. So you need it when you're building. You need it when you're not building. You need it. You need to have a good marriage. You need it to have to be a positive force for your family, community. I'm telling you, if you think of the resources that you have to approach the game of life, attention is one of the biggest you have. Well, where is your attention? Let's forget about work. Okay. Usually in this day in society, we're not digging that trench you're talking about. What we're doing is we're talking to each other. We're writing things down. We're doing something at our computer. It's where's your attention? What are you attending to? That's one of the biggest resources that you have is your attention, mindfulness. And there's very few things that you're really, really in charge of in this world, but your thoughts and judgments, you don't tell me you're not in charge of that. That's just that's you talking. Because you're in charge of that, right? I'm
But
not
how many
speaking to you.
people, but how many people do you think if you asked would be able to give you an answer of where they're headed or what they're working on?
Well, Steve, I really believe that conformity is the killer. So if you're asking me that, it's like I have a strong opinion about that. For example, so what's the common person do for exercise? Well, do that if you want to die early. What's the common person do for food? They call it the standard American diet, SAD. If you do that, you're going to have these 4 or 5 diseases. What's the common person do in their leisure? Well, if you do that, check the median savings income in America. What does a person do as far as frugality? Oh, they don't do frugality. They just buy what they want, like little kids in the grocery store who are grabbing things. Oh, let's see where that goes. What kind of future is there? You don't educate yourself in your free time. You don't do what's common. Common is the worst thing in the world. If I see common, I run the opposite way. I think that what do people do as far as working on their mind, working on their thoughts, trying to control their thoughts, or do they bitch about it and make excuses for everybody else around them? Common is the killer. You never want. I don't care if you want a normal happy life. Don't be common if you want a normal happy life. Because it's just there's such waste to it. Everything that you do that's common, if you look at it, it's the worst thing to do.
Yeah, common and easy is kind of like what's everybody else doing? I could fit in. It'll be easy. It won't make any waves, but it's like what is going to happen at the end of your life if you even make it there? Because, like you said, eating the standard American diet, everybody and more diseases are coming out. Like it's just crazy. Younger and younger getting sick.
You brought this up. It comes full circle. Mindfulness. If you're going to be standard American, if you're going to be the standard American, at least you're going to eat without mindfulness. That's what's normal. You're going to exercise. No, you're not. Without mindfulness, we're going to walk, and we're not going to, at best, and we're not going to throw a heart rate monitor. There's no mindfulness. We're just going to call it moving. You're going to talk about what do you do in your free time? Wow, there's no mindfulness. I mean, yeah, you're trying, like right now, you have mindfulness. You could, you have a baby. You have to keep it alive. Look at the price you're going through right now. And then once it's over, you'll have such, it'll be so much easier to that kind of work. It'll get you used to something else. But what's mindful about watching TV? Okay, turn the TV off and look at a black screen because that's the use you're making of your life right there. And so everything that's mindful, it's just mindlessness is what kills you. Being mindless is just the go-to. That's the default. If you're not radically mindful, the default is just being mindless.
So to become more mindful, I guess you'd have to kind of focus, find a goal at least, and kind of start focusing on that. Like write your goals at the beginning of the day and kind of determine what you're working towards and just start doing that. Like people don't have to turn a complete 180 overnight. Like you can just start making small, minor adjustments and be headed in the right direction. I just feel like people think it's too hard to even start.
Yeah, I don't know, Steve. I think it's hard not to start. I get you. I can't speak to that because it's like not stepping on a scale. Okay. Okay, if you can't step on the scale, you're not. It speaks to me, but if I can tell you how you lose weight, you just step on the scale every day of your life. I know, oh, it's bad for you; it'll crush your spirits. Okay, then don't do it. I don't care. Be mindless. But if you want to lose, you'll lose weight by stepping on a scale, because a lot of things follow that. I just did it. I can't believe what happened to me after I didn't step on a scale for about a month. It's like, how did that happen? So I'm okay, I'm back to being mindful. So yeah, it's easy to be mindless. It's hard to be mindful, accountable, and everything like that. Sure.
Yeah, you have to focus on it every single day. You kind of have to focus on all of it every single day. You can't really be ever zoned out, which will lead me into the next thing.
Yeah.
We'll say the straight edge. Whatever takes the edge off also takes away our fullest potential. So
It's interesting. Go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead. Sorry about that.
It's interesting how much positive feedback I got from that. I'm telling you, there's a struggle out there with people, their relationship with addiction, if you call it. Not a full blown alcoholism or full blown weed head or just somebody that's down and out in the gutter, but there's a relationship people have with these cultural norms where you become ingrained in the fact that you're going to have some drinks, you're going to have maybe weed's getting more legal for people now, Netflix and TVs, that's what's normal for people now. I mean, a lot of hours like that is a lot of wasted hours. So the straight edge you're talking about in the book was specifically alcohol.
Yeah, and now, like you said, you have weed. You can even say food addictions. You could say antidepressants. You can add in there all the other things for anxiety and everything else. I mean, I don't even know what the number is of people who are sober day to day, not even including alcohol, just in terms of doing everything else. I feel like it's 1 in 5, maybe. Everybody seems to be on something.
100%, Steve. And let me tell you, so I can just speak from experience again. I was not a person that got DUIs. I had a normal job, normal family. I'm living a normal life. But when my kids were getting older and they spotted me, and we had this situation where I'm drinking wine and I won't let them drink wine, and they're pinning me down because, well, why are you drinking if it's not good for us, and that kind of stuff. And eventually it just got bad. It felt bad for me. And so I pulled the plug. My son then got type 1 diabetes. And I said, I got to show him how to live a life. Because for a type 1 diabetes back then, that was a really bad thing if he was going to drink. So again, as a father, you lead by example. Well, I pulled the plug on just normal stuff. But I could tell you this. When I did, I got the edge. There's a difference. It's just you don't dull it. The only thing that is just you're sharper. It's almost imperceptible, except for the fact that I did my first triathlon. I've never done it before. Didn't have it. 5 years in, without a drink ever, I was financially free. I had traction going. If I knew that's what it took, I would have never had a drink in all my life. It just gave me an edge. You wake up brisk. I wake up at 4:30 every day. bang, out the door. It's just you're sharper. I don't do well putting it into words, but I can tell you this, like why it happens, but it did, and it's remarkable. Everything I've ever done in my life that's I'm proud of, most proud of, the challenging things. Wrote The Wealthy Gardener. Never touch a drink. Uh, those kind of times when you're in life, the 20s, when maybe the things just kind of float by and you're drinking, you're having a good time, you have lots of socialization. I didn't even know what I was doing. I mean, I'm not even sure. I have no proof of my life from those years. It's not like I've done anything that can ever be known. Look, that's what he did there. No, I just kind of existed. We had a family and we just kind of floated. We drifted. So you don't have to have a problem. I can tell you that if you pull the plug on that one, I heard a really great quote that I love. I just read it in a book. The guy said, only by not drinking will you have to face the reason you want to. Man, I love that. Now, why are you compelled to have a drink, John? Why do you want to drink at the end of the night? You trying to escape the stresses of life? Is that how you live? And I'm thinking like, but I remember thinking this kind of things like, no, 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 no. You're the kind of guy that attacks the stressor. You don't run from the stress. You can shape your life, but you can't shape it if you're hiding your head in the sand. It's those kind of thoughts that go through your head. I am a big proponent of not drinking. I'm the straight edge. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think once you do it, you see why. You can't give it up for a couple days or whatever, but once you give it up, I went through a program, 75 hard, which there's a lot of other things, but you can't drink either. And for 75 days, you couldn't drink. And it's just slowly seeing like, okay, I never really had a drinking problem, but it was like, oh, Thursday with the guys, or we're going out to dinner, might as well have a few drinks. And it was just like you always had that fogginess in your mind.
Mm.
And then now I haven't drank. I had a glass of champagne at our wedding, was probably the last time. And it's just, you will go to work and you just feel good. You're going through the motions of this, that, and the other. And you're just always, like you said, you have that edge where other people, they don't have it. They're still trying to wake up. They're still trying to get through it because, I mean, there's studies that show it kills your REM sleep. So you're not getting good quality sleep. And if you only had one or two drinks.
You know, I love YouTube. It's coming out with all these stories. It's bringing it to the surface because nobody ever talked about it. Like whenever I stopped drinking, is in the 1990s, whatever. You know, it's like it's forever ago, and all I know is I'm ostracized. You know, my family, you work hard, you play hard. What that means is you work hard, you drink hard. And you know what? I was really good at working hard and drinking hard. You know, we have a good family. We have a bunch of good people. We're athletic people. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
We were tangling here before. I was untangling all my electronics for Steve whenever we started this podcast, and I forgot to turn off my phone. But a lot of good people will look at you like, "Oh, why are you? Do you have a problem with alcohol?" And it reminds me of how, you know, if you eat properly, you eat strictly. It reminds me of the people who say, "Well, why do you have to eat strictly? You're in good shape." And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Weigh 300 pounds and eat burgers until I get out of shape? Then I can have a reason to eat good? It's that mentality of again, conformity, cultural beliefs. It drives me nuts because it's always the same thing. What's normal? God, you got to question it. Always question what's normal.
It kind of, in a way, like, is like almost like depressing. And you're like, why is it like this? Why is it weird? Like, I stopped drinking and I eat pretty strict. And it's like, oh, well, you're eating the same thing again. You're doing this. And I'm like, but I look at you drinking a Coke, this, that, and the other, and I don't say anything to offend you, but you have no problem offending the person doing the right thing.
They attack people doing the right thing. But you can sit on a couch and you can smoke a cigarette and drink a six-pack watching your favorite football game, and you and I won't say it to them. It's always the same.
It's like we don't care. We don't care how you eat, how you operate, but like it offends you to see someone doing the right thing while you're not doing the right thing. It's like, why aren't you doing what we're doing?
100%, man. I lived it. I did. But at this point, nobody even thinks twice about it. They know you don't. They accept it. And, you know, you try not to make them feel uncomfortable about it. I think sometimes they feel like if you're not drinking, you know, if you're looked down at them or something like that. And it's certainly not that. I'll be at a function and I'll hold a drink to make other people feel okay. If I have to do that, that's the price I pay. Whatever.
I usually hold a coffee. Yeah, I can't turn down a coffee. I won't turn down a black coffee. I love coffee. So it's like at a wedding or whatever, I'll just sip on decaf or whatever just to have something to sip on. But Besides that, no, I'm just don't need it.
Good for you, brother. Your daughter's going to be watching that too.
That's part of it. That's why, like I said, we were kind of creating this lifestyle that we wanted to live by. And it just really every day feels like we're doing the right thing. And
I
eating's
love
the
it.
same way. So what is your eating style like? Because like you said, your son had type 1 diabetes. So I'm just curious to hear
I'm
what
type.
you've realized by eating healthy and what your kind of typical day of eating is.
So today, what's a typical day of eating? I'm pretty tight. So for my late lunch, I mean my late breakfast, I'll have a smoothie, and my smoothie is spinach, half carrots, olive oil, protein powder, no carbs, protein powder. Um, that thing's about 32 ounces big. I'm an egg eater, so I had some eggs with that. I'll be eating tonight vegetables and turkey, and some rice before with the vegetables. That's my day.
And that's how you feel best. That's how you operate your best.
Oh yeah, I 100%. I do believe in getting yourself to your peak state. Peak state is a huge thing for me.
I got that written down.
Yeah. Okay. We'll
Yeah.
get to it.
Really go right into it. Absolutely.
Peak state starts with diet, and it goes with exercise. Diet, exercise, mindfulness. You spoke of. There's again, we're talking about that. Maybe 40% of your life, if you look at these different theories, is going to be composed of your thoughts and perception. In terms of the happiness, the well-being of your life, you have control over that portion. But you know what? You'll show up as a different person every day unless you take care of your peak state. My tired guy, small John, tired John, get out of bed. I can't open my eyes. I'm tired because I'm not hungover, but I had 2 glasses of wine last night, let's say, how we were talking earlier, and I feel like I'm just lethargic. Well, that guy's going to think a lot differently about the problems and judgments today. So peak state, that plays into peak state, the whole idea of the straight edge. So for me, it's no alcohol. I don't. I'll make a list, and people say you're nuts, but that's just me being intentional. I don't touch any grains outside of rice. So no wheat, no pizzas, no breads, nothing like that. No grains. I don't touch dairy. I don't do that. I'm basically a fruits, protein, vegetable, fat guy. Good fat guy. I'm pure.
What do you think about? Do you eat fatty meat or not really? Like red meat?
I do. I get my blood tested regularly. I I don't. I think you need saturated fats, 100%. I don't get them through dairy. My idea is that if a machine makes it, I don't eat it. That's how.
Yeah.
That's
Look
that's
at
the
the
role.
ingredients.
If
Mine is if I look at the ingredients and I don't know what that means, you definitely need to avoid that.
Yes, okay. So a machine-made food. It's how many processes it gets away from what you recognize in the ground or as an animal or as a plant. If it gets too far away from that, you just don't. So my rule is, if a machine makes it, I don't eat it. That takes out a lot of food, right?
A real lot of food.
Yeah. So you're talking whole food. You're talking low glycemic. Definitely believe in glucose control. It's one of the best things you can do for your mood regulation, thought regulation, so forth. Sleep. Peak state. I have light therapy. When I work on my computer, I'll put bright lights on because I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's really a dark area here. I sweat 30 hours a day. 30 hours a day. 30 minutes a day. Exaggerating there. Do 150 push-ups a day. So I'm on regimens. Yeah.
And finding the peak state, like for everybody, it's a little different. Now,
100%.
can you just enter it just because you're so disciplined and everything, or does it take you a long walk? For me, sometimes, like if I go for a long walk, like you talked about in the book, you start walking and you're not listening to anything. You're just kind of letting your mind roll. Things will start to come to you. So also when I'm in the gym, it's another like peak state for me where it's like I'll be lifting weights and then something I thought about yesterday or the day before that I couldn't figure out. Boom, the answer appears. I don't think people realize that happens just because, like, what do you think causes that to happen? Your mind's operating at another level?
Okay, so I have my thesis is that I can create my intuitions. I think that your brain can be fine-tuned, and you can get a target, but that doesn't just happen. So every day when I sit down, one of the first things I do is I look at the goals I have for, this 5 years of my life, and I try to get into them. I try to fill them. I do that. And why do I do it? I'm not trying to have the genie from the sky drop them into my world, but I know for a fact that if I put my mind on something, it will then follow, that I become more intuitive towards the things that lead me to that. So if my goal, my North Star is a peak state, because that is the soul, that's who you are, your essence, the state, whatever you want to call that. I think clearer. I then start to think about, how do I gain that? And then you work it backwards. Intuitions comes to you. All of a sudden, you're reading the book about this, you're eating this. You don't feel good when you eat that. You're taking this vitamin that might be methylated versus other vitamins that aren't. And all of a sudden, these different things that come to you as they arise from your inner vision. It's that, close your eyes to the sights around you and open your eyes to your inner vision. And if you get that in you, if you connect to that inner vision thing, whatever that was. For me, it was a rental business that would bring in all that money. I was insane. You could have thrown me in the loony bin for thinking I had a shot at that one. Don't even think about it. You put your mind on that. And you know what? It's not magic, but there's intuition that comes to. Intuition is real stuff. And all of a sudden, I wonder if that 36-unit apartment complex up the road would sell. That I just did it, right? I didn't think an apartment complex, a 30 recent history, past couple of years. I said, I need a 30-unit. If I got a 30-unit apartment complex, that would give me enough income to have a full-time manager sitting there and a full-time person over there. And okay, how do I do that? Well, there's not people knocking at your door asking them if you can sell. They can sell an apartment complex. No, you put your mind on it. Well, sure as hell, there's one right down the road from me. I could walk to it. In fact, I do. And that was for sale, and nobody knew it, but I knocked on the door and asked. That's how intuitions come to you. And I cannot tell you how cheaply I got that thing. But so how do things come to you? You make them come to you. You put your mind on them and you let the process work, because that's what your brain is for. You direct it.
I think I'm only putting half my mind into it, because I'll have something similar happen where I'm looking at a property, I'm thinking about it, I'm feeling it. I'll send them a letter or two. I haven't gotten up to the point where I'm willing to knock on the door. I just haven't gotten over that little gut feeling yet. But then 6 months later, I'll be like, wait, somebody else bought it. And I'm like, oh my God, I just missed another one.
And you know what, the ones you miss don't kill you. It's the to miss a good one. There's a saying in real estate, missing a great one, the great one that got away, that doesn't kill you. Getting the bad one, that's what kills you.
Yeah, it still hurts though. Like,
oh, I know.
I'm just like, oh man,
Trust
I
me.
needed to put a little more into that. I needed to put a little more into that. But
Yes,
it feels good that I am, at least it's in my awareness. So like,
absolutely.
I'm paying attention, I'm in it, but I need to dig deeper into it because I'm still missing by that little tiny bit.
You know what? Here's the thing, that whole stuff with goals and focus on them, I call it connecting, or trying to get yourself to feel it. Imagination means you feel it. You don't just stare at an image. You get a little emotion in there, and you connect to that thing. And if you can get to that point where, let's say the goal is, I don't know, $50,000 for security, so I can buy my first income, my first income property. Let's say we start right there, because that's how it works. You get a little bit of money, and then you can start investing a little money. Let's say we put our goal right there. You just got to start feeling that thing every day, and then the intuition happens around you, and then the thoughts happen around you, and then there's a process that just you can bank on. It's not mysterious. It happens for sure. Intuition can be directed. And goal focus is the means of doing that. And goal focus with emotions, that's the magic. That turns on intuition.
Now, do you like map out your day in terms of these are the tasks I need to get done? How specific is your day?
Well, I'm at a different stage of life. Yes, I'm a mapper outer. And like you said, everybody can be different. I am a disciplined guy. I think that what might work for me might drive other people crazy. But I do like to know what I'm doing. I have a schedule. I wake up with a schedule. My wife says, "Let's go do this," and I'm like, You couldn't have told me this 2 weeks ago because I had
I mean, that's my day.
Yeah, I've had to, in a marriage, you have to make compromises, and my airtight days are flexible around that one person. Uh, a lot of times, though, I do find a lot of value in saying no. You've got to guard your time. To get the sacred effort, you're in the book, the sacred effort is like when you just really, really, really give it for something. There's a lot of sacred no's that precede a sacred effort, and walk right along beside it. No to this, no to this, no to this, no to this. I don't do this. I don't do this. I don't. Whenever I was at my peak, Steve, I don't do entertainment. I don't do machine made food. I don't do alcohol. I don't. People think, well, what do you do? Oh well, wait. I have a family. Okay, I do them. I do my family, and I do my jobs. And maybe I go to Lowe's, and maybe I go check out these different rentals, and maybe I take care of people and practices. Maybe I have a life that's not passive, but there's a lot of no's, right?
I think part of my second date with my wife was Home Depot. I was like, we can go out to dinner, but we do have to stop at Home Depot because I'm working on this flip and like I need a couple things before tomorrow. So like we just have to pick it up. So she's still my Home Depot date. But yeah, that was like our second date.
Well, at least you went in honestly. See, I tricked my wife. I didn't tell her this was going to be her reality. So she got stuck with it afterwards.
So how did you raise your kids when you had all of these values? Because obviously you didn't write the book until he was 20, right? That's about the time that you started writing this book and wanted to give it to him. So how did you raise them in society when you weren't eating the same foods, you weren't drinking alcohol, you're probably making them read, or what were some of the values that you kind of raised them by when they were young?
If you ask my kids, and what was the theme growing up with me, you'll see blatant honesty as being the theme. And what I mean by that is like even their friends will say, like, I can't believe your dad talks to you about all this stuff, because my parents don't. That's normal. Again, cultural, normal, common conformity. We don't talk to our kids about some things. It was, how did I raise my kids? Absolutely. We raised them. I would explain to them why. I would always explain to them why I'm eating a certain way, why I'm not drinking, why I'm not. I said, yeah, it's easier for me to do this. But more importantly, I think, Steve, is going through all the crises, because, you're going to go through a lot of crises in your life. And a lot of times parents will, in my opinion, not share those hard times with their kids. Maybe we don't want to burden our kids. My kids saw me work a lot, but my kids knew what the price of not working would be for me. They understood that, not by chance. They understood that when I'm going into this, I just got this house. I got it for 35,000, and I'm scared shitless because I don't know if it's going to break even, because I'm probably going to put 300,000 into it. I don't know if this is probably, and I tell them they're part of my life. And when it doesn't work out, like there's a string of 3 houses in a row that didn't work out, they knew every bit of it. When dad's ready to shed tears, is like you're talking about the fact that I'm getting nowhere fast. I'm spinning my wheels chiropractic and making less than I did 3 years ago. Those houses didn't work. I gave all of my time. My contractors made money. I didn't make a dime. I lost money, and I'm feeling so demoralized. I tell them about it. And I said, these things are going to hit you, but sometimes you just have to go to bed at night and wake up the next day. Look at your goals. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not preaching to you. I'm just bringing you in on it. It's an education. So growing up with me was an education, and my kids were like that. They're smart kids. They're idyllic kids. I think that when you give kids, if you want to call them kids as teenagers and young, I think they're adults. If I go back to me at 16, I didn't think I was a kid. I thought I was equal to my parents. And if you treat them like that, it's really amazing how mature they are. And you really prepare them then when they go through their own life and they say, oh my God, I feel like a failure on this one. Oh, that's right. Dad felt like a failure all the time. And this is called normal. It's normal.
And he still turned out well. Yeah, he just rolls through the adversities. He deals with it. He confronts it.
He endures the pain. He doesn't run from it. He doesn't hide his head in the sand. He doesn't stick his head into Netflix. Yeah, he believes in ours. Like I was always blessed with a high level of mediocrity. I said, and I have all these mediocrities, but because of that, I had to become disciplined. I really believe in work. I really believe in the ability of putting your time and putting your attention on things. That's all you have to do is put your attention on things long enough. And that's what we call work. You're just not, you're not drinking, you're not watching TV, you're not chasing a white ball. You're doing something that actually moves your life forward in the direction you say you want.
So how'd you keep them from spending too much time on entertainment? Did they just see you reading and determine, oh, I should be reading too? Or did you like set goals for them with you have to read this many pages per day?
I didn't. It's a tricky, as you know, that's a slippery slope, because if you try to control a child, you're going to rebel. I just treated them as equals. Uh, it just never slipped into it, Steve. My kids were. I mean, if you look at adults, ought to look at kids sometimes and see, the ones that are engaged in sports, in high school sports, they're going to work all day long at their school. Afterwards, they have extracurricular basketball. After that, they have a club they go to, and they get home at 9 o'clock and do their homework and go to bed. Show me an adult doing that. All right. So you can get consumed if you choose to participate in life. And that's what my kids were doing. Now, my daughter was going more towards the plays, and she was a big time reader, and she was, it just never played into it.
Yeah, because I read, I don't know. Do you know who Patrick Bet David is? He's on YouTube. He has a couple different books. He talks about his kids in terms of earning things. They don't value money; they value books. So he's like, "Hey, you want that? That's going to take you 5 books." So I just didn't know if that was going to be a good philosophy we were going to implement. We're listening to different things from other successful people who have a growing family and raise successful kids, kind of determine what we want to implement.
I can't give you a tactic on it. I kept them busy. I'm not that it was even me. We were just like, okay, what are you going to participate in? My son once said I don't like this basketball. In 3rd grade. I don't remember the story. I says, well, what are you going to choose then? He goes, what do you mean? Well, what are you going to do with your time? Which activity then are you going to do if you're going to shut this one down? It wasn't a matter of doing nothing. How are you going to use your soul, brother? I didn't say that to him at that time.
He'd be like, soul, what's that? That'd be
what use?
Rabbit hole.
Didn't you ever hear of Marcus Aurelius? What use are you making of your soul, son? He wasn't ready yet for that.
He wasn't quite ready.
No.
The last principle I want to hit with you. So seeking prosperity. Be weary of those who tell you to be content with your conditions in life. Only you can know the conditions that will satisfy your soul, and only you can feel the pull of your ambitions.
There's a saying with those. There's not a saying, but if you get a bucket of crabs, and one crab is starting to crawl out of that bucket, you know what I'm talking about. The other
Absolutely.
crabs will grab that crab and pull them down, and they won't let that crab get out. It's really important to not be part of the herd. And that doesn't mean you have to be this iconoclast, that you're not a rebel. You just think your own thoughts. And, there's an individuality to all of us. There's just no conformity, in my opinion. I just never believed in conformity. I'm different in many ways. And it's really wrong, I think, sometimes to try to make other people understand you. So if you think that this is what you want to spin your wheels and waste a lot of your days, a lot of your times and frustration. Try to make people understand you. If you're not like them, it's just a waste of time. If you want prosperity, that's ambition. That's good. That's fine. I don't want the level of prosperity that other people want. Is that wrong? No, I want simplicity. I know what I want, but you have to just sit there and think it out. That's what's mandatory to me. The duty to choose.
And it doesn't have to be, I feel like, to a money goal. It can also be physical. If you're out of shape, if you set the goal to get in good shape, you're going to be thinking about that 24/7. And I think seeking prosperity in anything is going to give you that drive that you need, and you're going to become happier. by extension, but you're not going to be happy by going through the motions of life. And I feel like that's why people lean towards the alcohol, lean towards the drugs, because they're not happy and getting fulfillment. And they're just falling into just something to give them happiness or quiet their mind.
Steve, I think about it sometimes, like during the dark night of the souls, right? Whenever you're like you're really in the struggle and it's not going anywhere, and you start to question yourself. Those are the worst ones, right? When do I have what it takes? That kind of stuff. I remember one time sitting in the sauna, and what I was thinking about in the sauna was, okay, well, what's really being asked of me here for this whole process? What I'm really being asked of me, I have to just live in a peak state every day. I have to I have to have my full potential. I have to be goal focused. I'm choosing my own goals. I get to choose my own goals. I have my own mind. I have to be focused. I have to be in peak state. I have to be mentally clear. I have to adapt my strategy at times. And I like progress. Why wouldn't I do that, for Christ's sake? Like yeah, okay, I'm not getting anywhere, but that's a better life of participation compared to a life of complacency and passivity. That's a better life. You're fuller that way. People will say to you, oh, you got to live, you work too much. And I say, I got to live. Well, damn, you want to call living staring at that TV? You want to call living drinking and waking up with a hangover? You want to call living doing nothing, picking up twigs? Go ahead. But don't tell me I'm not living, because my day's pretty full. And you choose how you want to live. Prosperity, absolutely. It's not about money, but money is a component of it.
Oh, absolutely. I was
Sure.
saying, like, people who are trying to figure out, like you said, book your life in 5-year plans. And in 5 years, your life is going to be better. It may
Sure.
not be exactly your dream picture, but like, what's going to happen if you do the same stuff for the next 5 years? You're going to be the same person. And
Yeah. And there's value and there's happiness just in the process of direction. Like if you're just going to be, you're just using the best part of you, and that's what it's going to teach you. The evolution. I mean, if you ask me for a deeper meaning of it all, I do believe that there's an evolution of a soul. When you come into this place, you come from somewhere, you're going somewhere, and in between, there's this struggle. And when you win, you become more. The evolution of the soul. That happens during struggle, not during Netflix.
yeah, and it's something you're not going to realize in the moment, but after, like, you realize that every time you accomplish that next thing, that the struggle is what made it great.
Well, it's like you said, whenever you said this statement that, well, we're not drinking, we're doing this, we're doing that, and it just feels right. There's something there. Right there, what you just said, what feels right. The right things feel right. You do get a feedback. That's the intuition. That's putting it on there. When you're doing the things right. When you're doing the things wrong. The biggest game of life is to do the things you already know to do. Like, you don't need more knowledge. You need more doing of the things you already know to do.
Yeah, the easiest thing is to get started. The hardest thing is to get started.
That's so true. I didn't hear that. Yes.
The last question I have for you. So if you had to try to sum up what it takes to build a superior version of you, how would you try to explain that to someone if you were having it in a quick conversation? Like a quick summary of building a superior you.
It's funny. That's a subject I've never been asked about before, but it's probably the core of what I believe. I do believe that you set goals not for what you get, but for who you become. How? I guarantee you one thing, there's an element of challenge to it. People want a stressless life. That's not how you become superior. You have to, maybe you don't put yourself into, let's say that the goal is to put yourself into enough challenge that you're not thrown off course, and then to learn how to handle that challenge. And you're, as a person that's capable, has agency, and still is thankful for life, right? You still have to have that I can attitude, and you still have to be, it's like, take it to an exercise level. Without any kind of resistance against the body, there's no strength built. You have to learn that stress can be a growth process, not a death process. There's a growth process of you going into mild discomfort and staying there. You have to grow yourself to be a superior you. People think that in a way that your success is like a linear line. It just goes up like an airplane, and you're now at your new level. It's more like you expand. It's more like an expansion. Success is like this. It's not like this. It's you, like that. You can handle more now. And because you can handle more now, guess what? The universe brings it. And that's how it happens. To become a superior you, it's all about state. You want to talk about tactics? It's diet, exercise, getting enough sunlight, the basics, the things that you already know about, proper sleep, don't drink, do the things you already know, do the things you admire in other people. That's what the Stoics will tell you. So get back to the basics. Don't do the things you know you shouldn't do, and try more to do the things that you want to do. And the way that you really keep track of yourself without self-delusion is you track it. You go like Benjamin Franklin, you write it down. These are the virtues I want to develop. Write them down. Keep track of it daily. One of the greatest people that ever walked in terms of impact. He did that all his life. He tracked virtues. And so that's how you become a superior you. You get tough on yourself.
I love it. And it's funny how like everything comes back to two, like exercising and taking care of yourself. And people think that it has nothing to do with that, that that's not important. But if you start with that, it'll lead you into wanting more in other aspects of your life.
Steve, I've heard one, I know we're closing up here, but I'll say this. I heard one person say once to me that exercise is one of the most narcissistic things you can do. It's just about you. And I was so stunned. I couldn't even answer. And man, is that wrong? Man, is that wrong? I have never seen a burned out exerciser. I have seen so many burned out drinkers, so many burned out TV watchers, so many burned out smokers, that all the things you're trying to do to escape the stress. I have never in my life seen a burned out, whacked out exerciser. Now
And
that puts some power behind you.
and what'd you just say too? You look at people you admire. You don't admire anybody who's overweight, out of shape, and looks miserable. You admire the person who has the body that you're like, oh, I'd like to get to that point. Well, but you can't implement the things they're doing. You're not willing to implement any of them. You just want to scold them.
You know what, man? It's like you said, it's challenging. It's the doing the things we know to do. That's the challenge of life. Every day. I'm not an exercise enjoyer. I do exercise because of what it does for my cognition, my state of mind, my feeling like I'm able to conquer whatever I'm going up against. That's my why. I don't care about living long. I'll probably get hit by a bus, but I'll feel better today because of that 30-minute workout this morning. I know that, and I want that. I want to feel good, so I do it for that. I compete that way, and so yeah, there's a lot of things you could do tactically as a human animal to get better, and then you can put your mind on those goals. And there's just no value to that. Now you're getting into mental and spiritual stuff, in my opinion, when you can really touch the goals that you want and visualize that and stay with that inner vision despite everything you see in your world. If you can stay with that, that's when miracles happen, which you don't understand. Coincidences start popping up. You don't want to understand.
But you'll feel it.
I like your philosophy, Steve. You impress me. You have a baby, and you're at this age of your life, and you're already talking like it's going to work out well for you.
Thank you. John, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Everybody who hasn't read The Wealthy Gardener, you need to pick up a copy. It's by John Soforic. You can get it on Amazon. And is there any other place where you can get the book besides Amazon?
They had them in Barnes and Noble and everything. It got published, but Amazon's the 75% of all books place. So go
and
there.
It's easiest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Okay. Well, thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.